Hello, I'm David Rummell. I'm the owner and founder of DR Law Center, a business and personal injury law firm. I practiced law for 30 years at this point. I'm also the co-founder and co-owner of Apex Brokerage, a business brokerage, and I have the pleasure of being a partner with my son, Zachary. And we help clients buy and sell businesses all throughout the state. So I want to talk about my guest for today, Greg Sawyer, owner and founder of Vision Builders Group and Development, Inc. And not only a client, but also a friend. Welcome.
Thank you, Gabe. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. And we've known each other for about 10 years. So tell me a little bit about how you got started, what motivated you to start a business, and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
I was in the custom home building business. When I say custom, I mean very detailed to what the customer actually wanted. We sat down with them. Every house we built was totally different, and we built it and designed it such that it functioned the way they lived.
I guess, so then the question became, at some point, I remember you coming into my office and you were talking about maybe you were frustrated and you were looking at maybe just stopping doing business, just ceasing business and closing the doors. And I remember I convinced you otherwise.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I had tried to bring some people in to take over the business so I could retire. I'm getting up in the mid-60s, and I wanted to enjoy life, you know. And the takeover from the people I brought in really didn't work well. So I said, I'm just going to shut this down. And Dave goes, why? And I says, well, it really has no value. It doesn't really own any real estate, doesn't own any equipment per se. Only value is my reputation. And Dave says, well, that's worth money.
And you're not alone in that. I've met so many business owners, so many of my clients didn't understand that they had great value in their business.
So, yes, it's about one-man operation. I didn't do too many projects, 4 to 6 a year maybe. And it was just enough I could handle on my own. Plus, of course, I was younger, so I could do a lot more than I can do now.
And when did you decide to grow?
Well...
And why?
Actually, I didn't decide to grow.
You did not decide to grow.
I decided to shut the company down.
Oh, was this about in 2011 or so, or when was that?
No, this was back, remember I talked to you, and I was in my mid-60s. And
That's later on. Okay.
I wanted to, just make it go away.
That was in 2019.
18, 19, so
19, right?
Yeah,
I remember you were telling me you wanted to close the business down, and I said, because you were about 63, 64 years old at the time.
Yeah, fine.
And I remember when you said that, I was like, you've had a successful business, because I had known you for several years at that point, and I knew your business had value. And I didn't want to see, to me, a business that you start and grow, or even if you buy it and grow it or maintain it, it's an asset. It should be considered a retirement asset or an asset to be utilized for your next phase of your life. And that's why I didn't want you to just walk away. That's why I said to you, hey, let's take a look at maybe valuing your business. And I remember you came back to the office and you brought your tax returns. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at your returns, and no, you had really good gross revenues. And then as I was scanning through the returns, the thing that stuck out to me was the profit margin. Now, my understanding, based on other custom building home clients I have, and just by understanding the industry, is your margin, your profit margin should have been 20% to, in some cases 25, 30%. And from what I remember, your returns going back every year I looked at 3 or 4 years, it was about 10% to 9.6, 9.7%, something. It was pretty low. And I gained experience. I was able to look at that so fast and understand it so fast because I used to, in my first part of my career, my first 8 to 10 years, I restructured multinational companies all throughout the country. So I would be doing due diligence on acquisitions of multi-billion-dollar companies. It was a really cool, great experience. So I was able to take that experience and bring it to clients like yourself. And that's why I told you, I said, your profit margin is way too low. And we talked about, are there much in the way of personal expenses in there and everything? And the margin that was in there is the margin from the business. And that's why I told you it looked like, someone was embezzling from your business. And that's why I said to you, who controls your checkbook beside you?
Yeah.
And then you went back and did your own investigation.
Yeah.
And tell me what happened during that investigation.
Basically, I figured, okay, we're going to make some changes, and which I did. And really decided, okay, now I really want to shut it down. And of course, Dave says, no, it's got a value. And I said, the value is my reputation. I don't see where there's any other value to it. And of course, Dave explained to me that has value and that he could sell it for me and hopefully continue to contribute to my retirement.
Man, and I think that all, that we were fortunate that all worked out well. Not only were we able to sell the business, but I think we got you, a 4-year consulting agreement on top of it, which was really cool.
3 to 4
3
years.
to 4
yeah.
years,
Yeah.
something like that. So
Well,
that
I
was
held
good.
the license for the company. So without the license, you can't do anything.
Right. So why don't you actually tell the viewers and listeners what it means that you had a license for the company. Talk about what it means to qualify a business, because it's not just home building or general contractors that do that. Lots of businesses require certain licensure, and then you can have a license holder qualify a business. So tell a little bit about that.
Obviously, the state controls us, and a contractor or a company that wants to contract commercial, residential, remodeling, repairs has to have a licensed person, licensed, registered with their business. And if not, you're contracting without a license, which is very illegal. You can get arrested for it. But your license holder is responsible that the company meets all the laws and regulations of the state of Florida. And that's one reason why we went out on my own, because we had issues with contracts and some of the things they were doing I didn't really think was appropriate. At the actual structures, I felt that we're letting some of the subcontractors get by with not doing it correctly. And so that's why I parted ways and decided, well, maybe I need to do it myself.
Understood. So as far as when you did ultimately grow your business before the sale, obviously, how did you account for the gaps of knowledge? Like I'm sorry, at some point you had you're a super smart guy, you clearly, and you were able to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses, having worn all the hats. How did you come to terms with, okay, I have some weaknesses. How do I fill those gaps? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when it comes to engineering, architecture, construction, codes, regulations, dealing with building departments, that was up my alley. As far as the business side of it, employees, employee law, bookkeeping and accounting, all that wasn't that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I hired that out. That was basically my only employee at one time. And I trusted them, to take care of things.
Sure.
And sometimes you can give too much trust to a person. And not necessarily, they might not be a bad person, but it gives them opportunity and temptation. I think it takes more than one person to run the business. You have a business-minded person and someone that knows and enjoys the actual function of building the product.
Right.
Yes, one person can do it, but you're not going to grow. You got to have a staff. You got to have a qualified staff. You got to have people you can trust.
So what did you learn from that? Did you implement any internal controls? Like after when we realized that, some money was being taken from your company?
Well, I really started scrutinizing everything that was money coming in and out, and it took time, which took time away from what I enjoyed doing. But as far as the business goes, it had to be done, you know. And before Dave sold the company for me, I tried to bring some young people in, smart people, you know, and let them take over. You know, it'd be good for them, good for me. Well, it didn't work out. Some people have issues that are hidden, and you don't find out about them until you're too deep into it. So that's why I decided to sell,
Right.
Or shut it down. Actually, Dave taught me into selling.
Right. Which was a hallelujah moment for you, right? When we finally got that done.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? What are you doing nowadays? You're sort of slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to do sort of a fixing issues. You know, for example, a building permit hasn't been closed. A project that was built without a permit. Code violations. People need help getting those things accomplished, and I'm good with working with the state and the building departments and so forth. And I will tell them, yes, you can fix it, or you probably got to tear it down. You know, but it's sort of a come and go type business, just enough to keep my mind sharp and keep me going.
So what do you see next for you?
I'm going to travel a lot. I already have started. My younger days, I traveled all over this country, and I want to start doing that again.
No, it's very important. While you have the mental acuity to do it and the physical ability to do it.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's really important. If you want to hike or walk or kayak or snorkel or whatever it is, I've been traveling a lot, extensively for the last 10 years.
Right.
Because, you know, I had a client, a doctor client of mine. I just connected her. I did an operating agreement for her and another member of her practice. And then maybe 2 months, 3 months after I did that agreement, and she always talked about, well, after we get this, I'm going to work hard for another 5 years. And she was already like 45, 50 years old. Then I want to start traveling and enjoying life. And then she got cancer. And then a month later, she died. And this is probably close to 8 or 9 years ago. And that wasn't the first client of mine that passed just suddenly and prematurely, so young. Mm-hmm. And that's at that point, I tell all my clients, and that's why I really asked you if you wanted to retire or what your step was back in 2018, 2019. As we approach 50 years old and up, we need to be mindful of that, of being able to do the things we want to do. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just working. We all need money, clearly. But there has to be a balance.
Right. Exactly.
And that's why it's also important to have the right team in place, internal team, external team, so that there's not so much taken out of you physically and mentally, so you can be healthy and be a healthy 60-year-old.
Requiring all your time, too.
As opposed to be a very unhealthy 60-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but in my younger days, I traveled a lot. Actually, business required me to travel quite a bit. Some of them companies I worked for when I first got out of college, for nationwide companies, and we had projects all over the United States,
Right.
And as a young person, that was great. As you get older, you don't want to be spending every night in someone else's bed,
Okay,
but now that I enjoy traveling, and I want to start doing it again. I want to be young again.
Well, you fly too, right?
I'm a pilot, yes.
Yep. So which is really cool.
I've flown all over this country with the airplane to Bahamas. We used to go to the 70s. We kept an old 1965 Galaxy 500, which wasn't that old back then, Sugarloaf, and they had a little runway behind the hotel. We kept a boat in the marina there. We'd fly down there in the weekend, go diving,
right?
Key West in the evening, fly home on Sunday,
Nice. So maybe just tell the listeners and the viewers the top 2 or 3 things that come to your mind that you think they need to know as either a current business owner that's either getting started or even one that's even mature and they're looking to take the next step in growth or trying to maintain amidst this economic environment. Or two-part question. And then also, what would be for someone that is looking to get into the business that hasn't even started a business, what do you think they should do and what you would have done over again when you first started?
Well, it's almost twofold. You need a technical person, okay? Someone that has knowledge on what needs to be done on the projects.
Like you.
Knowledge of the laws, knowledge. Plus, you need a business person. So it's almost like you need a team of two to even start the business. Yes, if you want to be a businessman, you can hire somebody to be your license holder, and you take care of the business. They can take care of the outside. Doing them all together for yourself, that's a lot of work. A lot of work.
Now, as far as having, it's hard to have partners.
Partners can be tough. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, is it something? Would you agree or disagree that
partnerships are marriage?
Oh, absolutely. And just as tumultuous as a marriage can be, and the divorce from the partnership can be just as tumultuous as a real husband-wife situation. But when I guess if looking at it, knowing how difficult it is to have partners, do you think it's also worthwhile to, having a partner is having an internal team, mm-hmm. and having, hiring your accountant and hiring your lawyer and your financial planner and of course bankers is important, all that. That's your external team. Did you have one way or another what you were more comfortable with and what was better for you?
Well, of course, my education and my love was in the field, actually producing the work.
The technical part.
Not necessarily managing the business. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That was not my expertise.
Would you say it was an area of weakness that you had at one point that you got better over time?
Well, you obviously got to learn things, and you learn by ear. Hopefully, you remember what you did wrong and not do it again.
Right.
But it can be a challenging job. You got to have a really smart person, and someone that knows how to apply their knowledge. Not just knowing things doesn't get you anywhere.
What's the biggest one thing that you want to tell Mr. X or Miss X? This is what you're going to do if you're going to start a home building business. Or
I think the world we have now is that we don't have any young people going into the trade. It's very difficult to find a young person, when I say young person, in 30s,
okay,
that has enough ability to step in and learn and grow.
Is it ability or is it desire or both?
Probably both, because if you don't have a desire, you don't have the ability. But it's rewarding. It's challenging. But I haven't experienced young people that would want to be or have the ability to do what needs to be done. It's just, I think we're I've been offered jobs in big corporations. I'm 69 years old, almost 70 years old, and they can't find anybody. Why would they want me?
The knowledge.
A younger person will be much better.
Maybe, but you can also train people internally. That could be, your knowledge is invaluable. All the mistakes you made, all the things you've seen. That's just it's a wonderful thing to be able to impart that knowledge onto somebody else.
But in my day, when I got out of college, it was you had to be the best of the best, or you weren't going to get the job, and that's not what I see nowadays.
Right. Well, and in my business too. Well, I appreciate everything in our relationship, over the past 10 years, and I look forward to the next 20.
Yeah,
which would be nice. Yeah. And
I have to say, if coming to Tampa, not knowing anybody, you don't necessarily want to just pick up the phone book and call anybody. And get to know Dave, just a network group. It was very helpful with some of the issues I've had, and the most dealings lately was contract issues with non-payment. I had two issues that Dave took care of for me, settled the deal, got me out of the contract, and everyone was happy.
It's very important, absolutely. And it was a pleasure helping you and all those issues and getting you selling your business and dealing with all the legal issues. And just, you were there for me to listen to me rant about certain things, and I did the same for you. So it's really cool. But want to thank you for coming today.
Okay.
Want to thank everybody for listening and viewing. And, we're looking forward to coming back next week with another great guest. And until then, stay tuned and please follow us. Take care.